Graeme Clark from Wet Wet Wet, welcome to the show.
Oh, good to be here, Yasmin.
Thank you
great.
so much for coming in. And before we kick off with all your stories that you brought in, you were just saying that was one of those classic things. It was a huge hit for you, but you wrote it in 10 minutes without ever thinking that it would be a single.
We did. We went to Switzerland and, we'd finished the album, we thought. And, we decided to do a nice kind of laid-back piano track and thought we won't even name it on the album, we'll just let people discover it. And when I came back and played it to some of my friends and people that like the band, they kind of really loved it and thought, that's the single, man.
You've got a hit on your hands.
One. Yeah, well, you never really know when you're in that bubble of the studio what you're writing, whether it's good, whether it's bad, and you just sort of go with your instinct, what you think's good. And usually, not all the time, but usually if I think it's good, then hopefully other people like it as well.
Well, I think they did.
yeah, thank God, man.
If my memory serves me correctly in the chart position, I think they did. So, I mean, obviously, but I put my hands up and say I was a fan from a young age. So
really?
it's a delight to have it. You say as if you didn't know. And I have told you this story, but I will retell it. And I'm allowed to do the accent because it was my mum. But the joke in my house, which my brother reminds me of, is that I was supposed to be revising for exams, but my mum told me off for listening to far too much Wet Wet. She could never get to the third wet. Just never happened.
There's always a problem for a lot of people, that third wet. Even for us, we still have problems with it, But yeah, it's funny.
And you're still, I mean, I know this, but again, to tell people, you're still out there as a band. You're still selling out arena tours, and you're doing good.
We're so blessed.
Yeah.
We managed to connect with a lot of people back in the 80s and the 90s and the 90s, and yeah, we can still go out and tour. I think we were talking before, it's hard to get everyone in the same room at the same time.
Because you're all doing different things. I know Marty's gone off and done a lot of musicals, hasn't he?
I don't know, actually. Has he?
Let's talk about what you've been doing. But you are a singer-songwriter you wrote, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but you wrote a lot of the Wets.
Well, You all did. There's a bit of, when I'm doing the interviews and no one's here, yes, I did write everything. And I'm pretty sure if the other guys were here, they would have something to say about that. But, I certainly contributed a lot, along with the other guys as well. I can't really take all the credit for it. So, yeah, I mean, we were very much a band, and that's the thing. It wasn't a kind of manufactured thing and you get the kind of hot songwriters in, we kind of created this on our own, and yeah, I mean, we still go out there, we still, it's me and a bunch of mates and a band going out and playing, and some people even buy our tickets, and occasionally they buy our records or download them these days.
Quite a few people from what I've seen the last concert I came to. We're going to hear some of your music later on, because you were out there doing your own solo stuff as well. But listen, you've brought in a fantastic selection of stories for us to talk through, and we're going to come to those. And we want people at home to talk as well. And as you know, the phone number is 0207 224 2000. If you hear anything that Graeme and I are talking about, this is not a closed discussion. This is for you as well. So pick up the phone. If you want to have your say on text, it's 81333, but start your message with the word London so that we can find it. So why don't we kick off with this big switch off, which has kind of just happened for Earth Hour. Tell us about that.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think we're always kind of looking at ways of, we've messed up the world, right? And us as people, we're wasted. We waste a lot of things, and certainly, I think it's about time that we all started taking a bit of responsibility. And I know it's not the great elixir. It's not going to solve all the problems, but it's just a small way to go, and it also. It shines a light, I think, for other people, excuse the pun, but it certainly shines a light on waste, and certainly electricity, and I don't know how many times you kind of drive through cities like London and it's past midnight and all the lights are blaring
in the office blocks,
and nobody seems to be there, so I often wondered, is there actually people there, or is this just a waste? So I think it's up to us. We have to take responsibility of the world that we live in.
So this idea of, well, it's kind of just happened this evening at 8:30 to 9:30. There was this 1 hour switch off. And I know it happened in London, it's happened in Edinburgh, and sort of cities across the world. So a lot of landmarks. I know we were looking at a Scottish paper, Edinburgh Castle.
The Kettlepeas, and that's 2 big horses, and the sculptures up and just outside Falkirk. So
and all over London, and it is. I mean, it's quite a thing when a city goes dark. Not, of course, it didn't go entirely dark, but if you were to look across London and certain big landmarks were switched off, or huge office blocks, and as you say, it's sort of. Is it enough though? Is it? It's just a reminder, isn't it?
It is, and it's just a small step. But yeah, we do need to do more. I think we do kind of. We're in a culture now where everything's pretty disposable. You look at your Apple phone, and once it's 6 months old, then we're all kind of looking for the new bit of gear, and there's tons of waste. Not just electricity, everything. Everything. We're a kind of culture that buys and discards things, and I think we need to look at that. I think it has to be, certainly, people have to take responsibility. I know that, but it comes down to us. Nobody else is going to do it for us. And I think this is just a small way, a kind of moving in that direction, And
you've got a son, sort of early 20s, is he?
Yes, that's right.
Do you see in that generation that they have a different attitude? Have they been schooled in it differently about switching the lights off at home? And
you would have hoped that there would have been a whole education about it, and I think they tried. Certainly he was aware of it, but as we talked about earlier, I'm forever walking into the room and turning off the power, turning off the lights, So there is this culture of, and that goes back to the fact that he's not directly paying for it, so it's not costing him anything, and that's the thing that we need to make people aware of, that it's costing us all, it's costing everybody, and we just need to take responsibility. I'm sorry I keep going on that. I sound like a politician, don't I? But
this is why we got you in.
I think it's kind of, it's up to us now, and this isn't the answer by any stretch of the imagination, but it's certainly a step in the right direction, I think.
I mean, I'm just reading one of the World Wildlife Foundation, who are behind this sort of Earth Hour and this big switch off, and the quote from one of them saying, every year I'm amazed and delighted at how people get behind it, from schools and businesses to politicians, which is great. It is great, but it's 1 hour. And I kind of think tomorrow will people forget again?
Well, that's it. Yeah, that's it. And we move on, don't we? And really these things need to become part of everyday occurrence. That's the thing. And I think when it becomes an everyday thing, it's about creating a habit, isn't it? It's about creating a habit of doing the right things.
I wonder if people did it at home. If you're listening, I would love to know, did you sort of take part in it? Do you go around your own house much more aware now? It's that kind of thing your parents do say to you, switch the lights off.
That's the problem, isn't it? Yeah. We all eventually turn into our parents, and
well, in this case it's a good thing, right?
It is. I think it's, I do kind of sound off a bit at my 22-year-old son, but I mean, there's an important point I think I'm trying to get across, so as you say, I think it is an important thing, and certainly for the environment, and it's the only world we've got. We need to kind of look after it,
Well, it's interesting.
It's all very hippy, but I mean, but it's the truth, it's the truth, and we need to do it. I just wonder how much, particularly when you look at as you said, the office blocks and things that you see that the lights are blazing all through the night. That really, I drive through London and it winds me up when I see. It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. It's just it's a waste, There's nothing else for it. It's a waste, and as I said, we need. It starts with us, we need to kind of. We need to create the habit.
I wonder why. I mean, I used to work in the city, and sometimes you would leave late. Often I would leave late, but we would sort of switch off behind us. But what would be the point if your colleagues on 6 other floors shut the door behind them, left the lights on? Coming home from Canary Wharf at night when the lights were blazing, and it would make my blood boil. And I just wonder. Yes, it's fantastic that this happened, but why can't we have an Earth Hour every night, even if it's just for an hour? Anyway, that's just my thoughts.
That would work, wouldn't it? Yeah. I mean, that would work for me, and it's not as if we need these lights on, maybe street lights are different, but I think they even tried that, they tried putting them off in the middle of the night, and you know, if it saves a little bit of the, you know, and kind of, that's what it's doing, it's trying to create an awareness, you know, for people, and if they can do that, then, you know, we might remember to do something about it.
Yeah. I always get vexed when there are stretches of the motorway that don't have lighting, and someone said to me, oh, you know, because sometimes it's flight path stuff.
Aye.
And someone else in the car said, no, it isn't, it's because the council's too tight to put lights. That's one area I would like to see more lighting, but that's just me personally. Well, thank you for bringing that one. You've got such a great sort of selection of stories.
Hey, I'm out of my comfort zone, you know. It's not like, you know, when you ask me to come and do this, it's not like something that I do.
But
what come on radio stations, and I like being taken out of my comfort zone and doing something that I don't do. So it's been a pleasure. You know, it's been nice.
It's great because, you know, there are some people you look at sort of what they tweet and what they talk about, and you know that they've got opinions on things and they would engage people, and that's why you're here. And by the way, if my Twitter feed is anything to go about, you've got a lot of fans out there. So
good. Well, as long as there's no mad wet ones out there, man, you know. I'm sure they are. Listen, we have the most kind of loyal kind of fans in the world, you know, and
presumably many have sort of grown up with you.
They have, and they, you know, they support me, and it's great, you know. It's an amazing thing, you know. I really, you know, my heart goes out to them, you know. Well, but they've stood by me, and, you know, I really appreciate it.
And they're certainly there on Twitter. Hello to all of you. I can't read all of your tweets, but I would just say a general hello. Should we talk about Russell Brand and this coffee shop?
Aye, well, I like Russell, you know. He's I mean, he's kind of, you know, a guy like Russell, he kind of does polarise, you know, opinions. And
are you a fan?
I am. You know, the more I hear him and the more I see him, the bigger a fan I am, you know. And I think guys like that, you know, as we said, he kind of splits opinion, and, you know, some people do find him quite opinionated, you know, and won't like that. But, you know, in order for it's another thing that he's making people aware. You know, he started this thing in Hackney's New Era housing estate. It's a cafe, and it's for, you know, it's abstinent based. You know, and it's for people who are addicted to drugs and alcohol, you know.
It's staffed by recovering drug addicts,
there you go, man. So it's doing a bit for the community, and I think that's what it has to be about now, you know. It has to be about community, and you know, bringing people together. And certainly, you know, I'm kind of not drank alcohol for 8 years, and so I relate to this, you know, and it's something that, and I never thought I would stop drinking, you know. I thought I would always kind of, you know, be a Scottish drunk man, you know. But you know, to my surprise, I've not touched anything for 8 years. So, you know, I just like this story.
Did you have a day when you said you realised that enough was enough?
I mean, that was the thing. You know, I started drinking a long time ago, and it's a kind of rite of passage in Scotland. You kind of. When you're 18, you go to a pub, and, you know, I think most of us probably started drinking before then, you know, and sort of, it's, you know, I don't just think this is about Scotland, but it's about the whole, you know, wherever you come from, you know, part of your rite of passage is to go to the pub, you know, and so I was no different. And, so, I mean, I just got to the point where I kind of, it wasn't doing me any favours, and, you know,
and you made the change.
It was stopping me working. It was stopping me doing things that I really wanted to do. And so my only solution really was just to cut it out. And I thought I could have the odd glass of wine, but, you know, for me, you know, abstinence is the way forward, you know, for me. You know, so I don't touch it. You know, I don't touch it. So this cafe, you know, addicts coming together, working, you know, solidarity and socialism at work, you know, and sort of.
It's interesting as well, isn't it? Because it's called the True Era Cafe. It's a social enterprise staffed by recovering addicts from the local area, and you kind of think, you know, there are some of these social enterprises around, and, you know, some flounder, some do better than others, but the fact that you've got someone like him behind it, that's obviously a huge thing. And it's got, I mean, the amount of publicity it got, I saw, you know, a brief scrum of sort of reporters all waiting outside.
Well, he's a newsmaker, you know. I mean, you attract attention, you know, and some people think that's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, you know. And I like what he says, you know. I've liked Russell for the last few years, that he's came to prominence, and certainly, you know, him kind of getting people's attention is a really good thing, I think, and it's shining a light on maybe something that is a big problem in our society,
Do you think generally, I mean, I know this is at the other end of the scale, but if I think back to sort of, if you think mid-90s, maybe it was around then that all these sort of celebrity-owned cafes and restaurants started,
yes.
springing up, and everyone was like, oh, you got to go because such and such owns it. And it's like, but they're not standing there serving. What difference does it make? Does it make? But obviously with something like this, not that he's standing there serving, but him being attached to it is only a good thing.
I think it is. I mean, I think it's just, as I say, it's attracting attention, but good attention. It's not. I think any profits are going back into it. It's not like they're coming and being a face to it, and sort of just, earning a lot of money out of it, and they're sort of earning money out of it, but putting it back into good use,
Well, it
says it's coming from a good place.
He said, according to him, the cafe stands as a permanent symbol of the victory of a grassroots movement over corporate interests, a place for the people of the New Era estate to gather for social and political purposes, whilst also contributing to the community. I wonder, I mean, it's a coffee shop, it's London, why wouldn't people go? If you're listening to this and maybe you're in the area and you've seen it, would you go? Are you planning to go? What do you think of Russell Brand's venture, 0207 224 2000, if you'd like to have your say on that? I don't know. I wonder if things like this, people would go, and this is a terrible thing to say, but think, well, I've done my bit because I've just bought a coffee there.
Aye. I mean, that's it. I mean, just listen to what he said there. He's a fairly articulate guy, and I don't really care about that. I think the fact that it's doing something good in the community, that's what it's got to be
nothing
around.
Else,
it's got to be about that nowadays, and it's not as if he's. It's the profits from his book. I think that
he's ploughed back in.
Thing, I think he's standing up and. Guys like that will always polarise opinions, but as I said, he's putting his head above the parapet, and he's kind of, he's putting his money where his mouth is, he's doing
honest. Something with it.
It's honest.
I know a lot of people weren't keen on his comments about revolution and not voting and what have you, but perhaps this has changed people's minds.
Travel in half an hour.
Katie, thank you. And I have to tell you, Katie Jameson,
yes,
Graeme from Wet 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 is very impressed to hear your accent.
Oh, is it local for him?
Do you tell her, Graeme? Is it local for you?
I think it might be, yeah.
It's a Fife accent.
I can't.
Oh, you can't. She's saying it's a Fife accent.
The Kingdom of Fife.
So, right, Kingdom of Fife, it's East Coast originally.
East Coast, yeah.
We've been taken over by Scots. Katie, thank you.
No bother.
It is Yasmin here with you. Welcome along if you've just joined us here on BBC London 94.9. I am joined by Graeme Clark from Wet Wet Wet, who is... I'm sorry, I can't just call you Graeme Clark. I have to say in my mind forever, since the age of 13, it's Graeme Clark from Wet Wet Wet. So
you do inherit an additional name, don't you, when you're in that band, It's usually Graeme Clark Wet 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 50,
I didn't want to say. Somebody tweeted to wish you happy birthday. It's not quite yet, is it?
Yeah, not quite.
You don't look a day over 49, darling.
Hey, thank you. That's nice to hear.
You know what? I'm delighted. We've got a first-time caller. Listen, big love to all the regulars. You know I love you, but it's lovely when someone new picks up the phone. Alan in Egham. Hi, Alan.
Thank you, Yasmin. Hello, Graeme.
Hey, Alan. How you doing?
Yeah, very good. Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for picking up the phone tonight, Alan. You wanted to talk about the Earth Hour and switching lights off.
Correct, yeah. I come in halfway through the conversation. Right. I did just switching the radio on. And so something that was brought up about the sort of corporate businesses, and you drive through London, I believe you said, and you see all the lights on. A lot of it's to do with security.
Okay.
And that's why it is a waste. It is a very big waste, and but quite often it comes down to security, and that's why they leave the lights on. But yeah, it is a shame. It sort of ticks the wrong boxes, really.
See, it's that a thing about health and safety, and you wonder if it's a help or a hindrance, and for me, yeah, you're right, it's like security maybe forces it to be on, but I think it's creating an awareness for people, to understand about how you know, we've only got this world, man. You know, we need to look after it. We need to, absolutely. You know, so yeah. I mean, I know nothing about the corporate life. You know, I've never had a job in my life. You know, and
so right though.
I know I've been blessed and I'm lucky, man. You know,
absolutely.
So yeah, I'm really thankful for that. But yeah, nice to hear you and nice to hear your point, man.
It's interesting, Alan, because I wonder what you're saying about the security thing. I understand because I've worked in the city and been in those buildings, but I know how huge those floors are, and you think you could have it dimmed even, and you've got cameras everywhere, people on the front desk. Even dimming them would help, I think.
Absolutely. I'm going to get a bit technical now, but there's what's called POI. Basically, what long and short of it, all it is a sensor. And when you walk into a room, the sensor comes on, which switches the lights on.
We've got that here, Alan. We've got that here in BBC London. In fact, the corridor's just gone dark because nobody's walking up and down.
It used to be infrared, but it's now called POI.
Right.
And just a sensor as such, like I said, and you can program it. I'm not going to go into that because I'll probably bore everybody.
No, but we know.
Please do, man.
We know what you mean.
Go into it, man. No, listen.
Oh, brilliant, Graeme.
I know. Brilliant. No, Alan, I tell you, I like that because, you know, I've got a son, and the amount of times that I have to go up and switch off his light in his bedroom, man, when he walks out and leaves it on, I was thinking of getting one of these little sensors that when just somebody's in the room, just so that it goes off when no one's in there, you know, otherwise it just burns all night.
There is a but there, though. If he rolls over in his sleep, that could set the light off.
I love it.
I like that idea, though, and he's sleeping and setting the light off, man, so it wakes him up in the middle of the night, man. That might be a good idea.
The other thing is now, and I hate to say sort of youth of today, but Alan, you know, we've all got so many things charging all the time. Your phone, your tablet, your this, your that.
I know.
A whole row of plugs just charging. Yes. And then, of course, what bothers me is that people unplug the device but leave the thing plugged and charging.
I've often wondered.
Leave the socket on.
Yeah.
But if the socket's on and it's not charging, are you still getting charged for the electricity? That's what I couldn't figure out.
Maybe Alan knows.
I'm not an electrician. By trade, I'm a computer network engineer, but I do the physical side of it, not tap on a computer.
Right, man, right.
And sort of network. You've probably got some in the studio right now, network points that your computer's plugged into it, go back to the server, Cisco switch, etc.
I think just, Alan, to be on the safe side, we need to be unplugging all that stuff when we're not using it. I
believe so. I believe so as well.
And Alan, before you go, I know you also wanted to talk about Russell Brand.
I did, yes. Personally, Graeme, you like him, don't you?
I do,
a lot of time. I'm a bit sort of in the middle, and reason being, like, rehabilitation, and I want to come to another point in a second if possible.
Sure.
He's come out of I'm not going to go into it, lots of problems, and he's done really well for himself. On the other hand, I don't want to say the wrong words.
Sure.
But yeah, funny guy. I think he's quite sort of in. I can't say the word. What's the word? Come on, help me out here.
Well, do you mean as in you think his heart's in the right place, doing what he's doing?
Absolutely. And I think he gives people a lot of hope. If he can do it, anybody can do it.
Well, that's right. That's right, man. He leads by example, and certainly with his problems. And you know, I think we've all got problems, man. If the truth be known, you know, everyone in the world, you know, we're not immune. You know, to what happens in life and what life throws at us, you know, so...
And actually seeing somebody go, I mean, forget all the campaigning and the cafe stuff to one side, but seeing someone of that nature, maybe, Alan, this is what you're getting to, going through an addiction journey and being so open about it, that's surely helpful to a lot of people who might be in the same boat.
I think so, yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah, well, I'm not a million miles away myself, and... If it's okay, Graeme was talking about the alcohol. Can I ask a few questions about that?
Sure.
how long did you drink for, and why, and what gave you the incentive to give up? Because I'm in a very similar boat.
Okay, man. Well, I just got to the stage where it just wasn't working for me the way, I had some great times with alcohol, I can't deny that, but it then kind of turned into something else, and it didn't do me any favours at all. So I just got to that point where
enough's enough.
Enough was enough. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I decided that time had come that I had to just cut it out of my life, and
that moment is different for everybody, isn't it?
Well, I think it is. I mean, it just depends how where it takes you, and how it makes you feel, and for me it just wasn't making me feel the way I wanted it to make me feel, so for me it just meant I need to cut this out. I need to, and my life was kind of surrounded by playing music, and there's
my life as such.
Well, but I mean, music and sort of beer and all the other stuff, it kind of goes hand in hand, and so it was kind of, basically I had to change my habits, and I then started surrounding myself with people who maybe didn't do those sorts of things, and that's how I get around it, that's how, I stopped doing that. And there's no easy way, man, there's just I just got to that point where I just couldn't do it. It was, there was, in a sense, I couldn't live with it and I couldn't live without it, but I just felt that it was better for me to not have it in my life. And I was lucky. I've got a fantastic wife. I have an amazing son, and they were a real strength to me. They pulled me through the sort of dark times, and I sort of say my life was kind of like a fairy tale, but there's a bit of darkness in fairy tales as well. So the likes of my family kind of really were an important part of taking me out of that life and showing me a different way.
Alan, I hope it's been helpful to talk, but I just wanted to say before you go, thank you so much for picking up the phone tonight. I love speaking to new people.
One more, thank you very much for having me. One more quick question.
Sure.
Did you do it on your own, or did you get help?
Well, as I say, I got a bit of help from my family, and
okay. Any outside help?
I did. I had to go and seek, go and talk to people, and find out how they did it. Sure. How you create your sobriety,
And there is help.
That's what I'm doing now. That's exactly what I'm doing now. That's why I phoned in.
Great.
Good for you, man.
Thank you. I know I'm on a time scale. Thank you very much. I'm going to carry on listening.
Great stuff.
And have a lovely evening and a good weekend.
Alan,
good stuff. Thanks, Alan.
You take good care.
Absolutely.
And I'll talk to you again soon. I'm here every Saturday, so you can pick up the phone anytime. So. You take care.
Lovely chatting to you.
And you.
See you later.
Guys. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Oh, I gotta love a first-time caller.
Lovely.
We love that. If you would like to have your say on anything we're talking about this evening, it's 0207 224 2000 is the phone number. And easy as that. You phone up. Producer Phil, he with the hair, the fantastic hair, takes your call. He talks to you for a moment and he gets all your details and he calls you back. You don't even have to pay the bill. It's all done for you. If you want to text, of course, if you're a silent listener and you just want to text, it's 81333. Start your message with London. You can also email Yasmin at bbc.co.uk. Now might be an opportune time before we come to the other stories. I know this has been rumbling for a few days, but should we talk about Zayn and One Direction? Because
please, Zayn, man. Aye. No, listen, it seemed nobody knows what it's like, apart from those five guys in that band One Direction, and I have a little kind of sort of window into that life where,
because you've done the flying all over the world, going from gig to gig to gig, to interview to interview.
It's intense, and as I say, nobody knows what that kind of bubble's like, unless you're in it. Now, it seemed to me that I don't know. I don't know the guys at all. I just know what I see and what I read and what everybody else reads. It just looked a bit knee-jerk to me that he just kind of, just made that decision, and I kind of related to that because
just upped and left.
Well, there's been times when we've been away and on tour and in paradise, basically, but there's something inside my head that says, do you know what, I want to go home tonight, and nothing else is going to do it apart from my own bed and my own house, and no amount of money, no amount of drugs or drink will ever entice me. I want to do that, and I'm going to do it.
And a hotel room can actually be quite a miserable place when you're...
Listen, hotel rooms are fantastic at certain points, but there are certain points when they're really depressing, lonely places, And I feel for the guys in One Direction, because they kind of, they come out of that programme and, they've basically been on a merry-go-round for 5 years or whatever it is, and we can all look and say, but they're making really great money, but, we have to look at that thing and that's not really what it's about, I used to think it was about making money and being successful, but, it's not, that just doesn't make you happy, or it certainly didn't make me happy. I had to look for happiness inside, and then when I found what that was, then everything else kind of came together in my life.
Do you think that commercial pressures on a band are even bigger now, or have they always been? You've got to do the gigs, you've got to do the interviews, because you look now and they've all got all the merchandise that goes with it, and it used to be gig t-shirts, and now of course it's perfume and I don't know whatever else, stationery sets and all that nonsense. But does it make the pressure even more intense, perhaps?
I don't know. I just pressure's pressure, isn't it? Pressure. You heard Alan there, pressure can be can be created anyway. You can have pressure in a place like Clydebank where I grew up, and not have anything to do with, big successes in the pop industry, so...
Yes, you've got mouths to feed or whatever
pressure's everywhere, and I just think that, I feel for the guys, they, as I say, they came out of that programme and then just went out on the road, and it's an amazing life, that there are moments when I'm pretty sure that they're having an amazing time, but there's also the other side of that coin, where you play to 60,000 people, and then of course you go back to your hotel room and there's no one there, man,
And that sort of...
It's sort of... It can be the loneliest place in the world, man, It's kind of a strange juxtaposition, from having all that adulation, and certainly, that reminds me of the early days. It was like that, like in the sort of late 80s, kind of early 90s for us, but it sort of evened itself out after a while, I think, and then you kind of, I understood it a bit better, and now the second time round, when I'm in it this time, I'm a wee bit better equipped, I've kind of been through all that in the sort of the adulation phase of, the euphoria that kind of surrounds that life, and sort of, I get carried away with that, when I was in my 20s, as you would, as any 20-year-old would, but I think when you get your 40s, as I said, you're a wee bit better equipped, and it doesn't really mean as much, For me, it was about making music, and I think even if I hadn't did anything with Wet Wet Wet, I would still be trying to make music, like I'm doing today. I don't have the success in commercial terms with my own career, but it certainly fulfills that bit in me that I'm a creative guy. I need to express myself, and that's what it's doing for me. It'd be great if I sold millions of records, but it's not. It's not why I'm doing it.
But it must be in a way quite lovely, because you can go and do a greatest hits Wet 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 tour and sell out an arena, but you can also, for you personally, go and do a smaller gig and think, okay, I can actually see people and talk to them, and
and that's it's a different skill as well. You know, we go out to the arenas and it's fantastic. You go and play with my mates, our kind of 80s.
Well,
and
you
90s
must be
and
like
90s.
Brothers now.
We are. We're a massive dysfunctional family. And
is there such a thing as a functional family? We're going to be talking about that later, about Elton's relationship with his mum, but that's to come. talking of, I'm going to segue really badly here.
I like it. Clunky, it's nice.
Clunky's all good. That's what it was. My middle name, Clunky Khan. We're talking about art on different levels. Tell me about these paintings. Jack Vetriano. Yeah, he's
a Scottish artist. Now, it's not that I know anything about art. You know, I'm a great believer. I love that saying, all art is useless. You know, it means nothing. And I kind of like that. But Jack Vetriano, he created like this print. And the Scottish people that are listening, all the kind of wet fans, they all know Jack Vetriano. He's very kind of famous because he made this sort of picture. It's people on a beach with umbrellas. It's fairly famous. It's almost like the 90s or the 80s equivalent of the Sarah Moon that we looked at that was in everybody's house in the 70s.
And you had to show, just before we came on, you showed it to me. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And as soon as I saw it...
Yes, it's a famous print, and it's one of the biggest selling prints ever, I think, you know. So it's hugely commercially successful, and he's not really recognised by the Scottish art fraternity, and I kind of like guys like that, because I don't think he has been trained. I don't think he's went to arts college, so in a way I relate to him because I've never been to a music college. I never went to study how to be in a band. I never went to
and they do actually have courses on that stuff.
Well, in my day, that wasn't really a career choice, man. To play in a band, it was something that you really had to want to do, and I think that's the difference nowadays. If you're going to go to college to learn how to do it, then you don't really want to do it. It's something that is kind of a career choice, and so in terms of a Jack, he's not recognised with the art fraternity. I don't think they show any of his paintings, and that
there's this huge snobbery around, isn't it?
It's total elitism, it's snobbery, and I hate that, because it's just as viable as anyone else, because he has to go through the process that all painters have to go through.
The creating bit,
his colours, and then he paints, and to me it's no different from anyone else, just like One Direction are no different from U2. There might be vast difference in
musically,
in the fact of the music that they make, but they still have to go through the process of making the music and putting it
however
out there and
it's
people
done,
buy it.
Well, the reason he's in the news, of course, is a collection of his paintings are going under the hammer in Edinburgh, actually, on March the 31st, for an estimated 800,000 to 1.2 million, which is, it's no small amount. But when you look that it's 12 works, you kind of think if it was another painter that didn't have the lack of judgment attached to it, they might be going for even more than that.
Okay, I think he's quite happy with that, to be honest with you.
I'd be happy with that.
I think that I'm just shining a light on the fact that because you're maybe. I think you brought it up at the beginning of the show. Does it commercially successful? Do you mean that it's not very good then? Because it's mass marketed.
We are very good at that in this country. We build someone up. We build someone up, particularly musically. They're amazing. As soon as they made it, we start rubbishing them.
Well, we've
got an inbuilt snobbery in a way, haven't we?
I'm talking about our second single, which for me was the most commercial thing we ever did, which was Sweet Little Mystery. That was single of the week in the NME, which is the New Musical Express, which was the real hip and trendy. It still is to this day. It carries a lot of weight.
Carried weight.
And we were single of the week, so we were championed by these guys, and then suddenly we became hugely successful, and then there is this snobbery, it backfires on you. I mean, that's life.
The nature
of
it,
as you say. We're good at this country, we're good at doing that in this country.
Knocking. Peter is on the line in Hertfordshire. Hello, Peter, how are you?
Yes, I'm very well, Yasmin, and how are you?
Good? I'm good. Lovely to hear from you again. I hope you've had a good week.
Lovely show and wonderful guest.
I should be happy to hear that.
Yes. You might not be saying that when I finish my call. But
go on, Peter.
Give me a hard time, man.
I love hearing your voice.
Thanks.
I'm a descendant of Glaswegians.
Great.
I was up in Rutherglen a couple of weeks ago.
That's where my father's from.
Yeah, so when you start mentioning things, and I had to go and visit some people in the Spittal, and and my father was from Partick, I don't sound as if I'm a descendant of Glaswegians.
You don't at all, Peter.
No,
you're Peter from very well-spoken Hertfordshire.
Well, absolutely. Anyways, look, so I've qualified myself.
Yeah.
Now, I was telling Yasmin last week that I went to a CND rally, and I don't know how that conversation came up.
We were talking about the power of protest, weren't we, Peter?
You don't miss much.
No, she's good, She's good.
She's on the ball.
She is on the ball.
I've been taking supplements for memory of whatever it is.
and it just came up in the conversation. It wasn't an intended conversation, but I kind of said that at the time I believed in it, and I went down on my motorcycle, and I thought it was great until such time as I started getting into it, and I realised that I had no power and couldn't make a difference. But those were the beliefs I held as a young man, Graeme.
Sure.
But of course now my views I've developed, and you've clearly developed into a wonderful, perceptive human being. That's not trying to compliment you for the benefit of radio. It's just how a good person develops and learns on their journey. And it's not a challenge what I'm going to ask you, but how do you reconcile your great views on saving the planet, which I agree with, but it's very difficult to have the power to make a difference? How do you reconcile that with your things that you've done in the past, pyrotechnics, spotlights on your shows, and
he's hanging his head in shame, Peter.
I heard the under breath there, thinking, why did you let this guy on? And in today's world, no, and it's not a challenge, Graeme, please don't think that, but I think it's important sometimes that when we're making statements that maybe we want people to pick up on, we try and explain our journey and how we held those views then and how we were wrong, rather than tell people just don't turn on the light. Well, you can't justify that because you turned on the light. So, I'm wondering how you reconcile where you are now. And please don't think it's a challenge. It's not. It's just if we can get across the journey, we can try and condition people to make a difference, because I try to make a difference daily if I can.
Yeah, I mean...
You're going to answer that?
I'm going to try, man.
No.
But you've put me right in the spot, man,
I tell you what, don't answer it.
No, man, listen...
Why don't I answer you and ask you another question?
It's all right, because Graeme's thinking about it. It's good, it's fine.
Listen, you're exactly right. As you say, we go out...
Remembering is the journey.
Yeah. Hey, look, man, I've not got all the answers, I'm a work in progress. You've just...
We all are.
You've kind of put an important point across, and I think, I can't stand up here in my ivory tower and sort of say, right, we need to turn the lights off, then tomorrow go out and be seen in a big spotlight, and while the pyrotechnics go off, you've made a brilliant point, and it's something that I'm going to... I can't reconcile that, right, because, there's no justification.
You don't need to. If I was to answer it for you, I would say that some things are a part of reality. So we need to get from A to B. We would rather have a car that was electric, that wasn't using power. But some things are a part of reality. So they're part of where we are. To get to certain places, we choose to fly in an aircraft because there isn't an alternative. But living our reality, we want to go there.
Yeah.
And I think it's all part of it. But it's being aware as you are that you can abuse that reality. You can take it too far. People want to hear your music. I certainly would.
Yes.
People want to hear your music. You want to play music because music is more than just music. It's a passion in your case because you've done it for so long. You're not an organised boy band that was put together for 2 years.
That's true.
So, and you've qualified it there. So, I think it's a passion, and then you have to reconcile that with the reality that we live in. This is the planet we live in. We can't make it in. You can't make a round peg into a square, put it into a square hole. It just doesn't work. So sometimes you have to live within reality, but be conscious of your impact and the footprint that you leave.
And Peter,
that's a great point, Peter.
Yeah.
I love that. And it's a bit like, I don't know what the Green Party's policies are, but I certainly remember a few years ago, and it was when an election was coming up, and I was thinking, right, what do I want to vote, and the sort of the inner me wants to vote for the Green Party, right? But I have a big car, they want to do away with motorways, how do I reconcile that? Do you know what I mean? And I think you've brought a brilliant point up, and it's something that, I think I'm going to go away and have a real good think about it.
The other thing is, Peter...
I'll find a way of emailing you and see how you develop into that question. But you are right in what you've said. See, some of the Green Party views, or some other parties with similar agendas, is a complete non-reality. It's not achievable, and people could not exist under that basis.
I agree.
Therefore, it negates everything that they want to say. So actually, they're achieving nothing, and that's the bit that all of us who want to make a difference need to overcome. How do you present that in a way, such as me as a youngster going to a CND rally because I was against nuclear weapons? How do you put that across in such a way that makes people think realistically? And I think if we can make a small difference on the planet, if you made a difference by 5 or 10%, that difference is just so voluminous, to say the least.
Yes,
it is huge. And if you make one little difference today, that could be a monumental difference for the future. Because it isn't actually what difference you've made in your carbon footprint today. It's how that develops into the next generation and how they see it.
And Peter, no, it's fine. I'm just going to say, but my only point to make before we go to Katie with the travel is I think also we have a greater collective consciousness about it now. So if you, and I don't know this for all touring companies, but certainly even talking about here, you know, the lights fading when nobody's using them, that sort of thing. I know a lot of companies now and theatre companies and all kinds of things, they will look at that word you use, they will look at their footprint now. It may have been different 20 or 30 years ago, but there's perhaps more of a collective responsibility and consciousness and awareness about it now.
And it's those little things that can make huge differences. Graeme, lovely to talk to you,
brilliant, Peter.
Keep it up.
Great stuff, man. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Peter. You take care. If you've just joined us, welcome along. It's Yasmin here with you on BBC London 94.9. It's just gone 2 minutes past 11, and we're going to keep Graeme Clark a little bit longer because we've got more stories to do. This is your first ever paper review. Are you enjoying it?
I'm loving it. Yeah, getting completely taken apart by Peter, man. That was a privilege, man.
He's great, Peter. He's great.
He's good, man. He's a articulate guy.
But he did it so politely.
He did, man. He was very gentle as he put me down there. Yes.
He killed you with kindness, did Peter. We like that. Now we are going to, I'm trying to find it here in the running order, we are going to play one of your solo tracks very shortly, but let's go, because you had another story. We were just talking about the paintings and art not being the Vetriano paintings and art not being valued if it's popular. And we're going to end on another art story, and you pointed this out to me. I hadn't seen this at all. Gaza and a grand piano. I would never have even put those two things in the same sentence.
I know, and
tell us what this is.
Let me just, for the record, say this is an apolitical story. You know, I'm not coming down on any side here, so I don't want my story to be,
misinterpreted as it. Yeah.
Exactly.
This is about a piano and about the power of music.
Yes, I mean, basically, there's a piano in Gaza that they found, and it'd been hit by a missile in a leisure club, as far as I was led to believe, and somebody had donated the piano, and basically it was showing, for me, where I come from, and I'm not relating where I come from to Gaza, but certainly growing up in Thatcher's 80s Britain, it was a kind of desolate landscape, and sort of music for me and a guitar was a means to my escape, and certainly that's where it meant a lot, in a place of repression, in a place, and certainly Gaza's, it's war-torn, and for me, quite simply, that's where music means a lot, it kind of, music gave me hope where there was none, and this is what this story said to me. It was like, this broken up sort of bomb piano, and they rebuilt it. And it's using music as not the answer to anything, but it's certainly, and people need to forget their surroundings. People need to go and look at something. Even the piano, when it's rebuilt, it's a beautiful thing, and it makes a beautiful sound. And
a restorer has gone on a special sort of mission from France to put it all back together, restore it, and they're going to have a concert, and the idea of that is just beautiful, isn't it?
For me, that's what it's about. It's about music changing the way you feel, and when there's no hope around, it's amazing what music can do. The power of music, and it certainly saved my life. From it could have went a lot of different ways for me, and I was lucky that I found a path for me that gave me a kind of a fantastic living, and something that you know, today I make music and it hits on people, you know,
and
it affects them. And
what would how old were you when you first picked up a guitar?
Well, my father died, and you know, I've come to kind of realise my father died when I was 13 years old, and you know, I think part of my grieving process was, you know, there was a guitar, music was always kind of in my house, and there was a guitar in my bedroom, and I sort of did my grieving with this guitar, you know, that never really left my side. So I would have been about 13 when I picked it up,
started,
you know, and it kind of took me, you know, it carried me through. Music carried me through that kind of horrible time, you know.
And without being sort of cliched about it, but presumably a lot of the options at that age where you were in Glasgow was, okay, you're going to go to school, finish school and go and get a job in a shipyard. But of course,
that's right.
They all started fading out of existence.
As I touched on Thatcher's Britain, you know, what used to happen was, Billy Connolly tells a story where the schools would open, the school kids would leave and the shipyards would open, and all the school kids would go into the shipyards and get themselves a trade, and of course when I left school at 16 at the very beginning of the 80s, there was no shipyard jobs, you know, so in a sense they called it Margaret Thatcher's grant, you know, which was the dole, and you know, we were like you know, my band were like-minded people. We had a common goal, you know, we had a common interest in music, and we sort of, we rehearsed in my mother's back room for 2 years, you know, and that's where we cut our teeth. That's where we learned how to play in a band. And you know, as I say, it wasn't, you know, imagine like telling your parents, I'm just going to, you know, especially in the 80s, I'm just, you know, I'm not going to get a job, I'm going to go and I'm going to play in a band and hopefully we're going to be successful.
Yeah,
you know?
How did that go down?
Well, like a lead balloon, man, you know, and sort of even our friends were like, man, you know, it's about time that maybe you think about getting a job. I mean, still my friends to this day say to me, is it not about time that you started to get a real job and, you know, maybe put some work in?
I love that. You know, if you come from an Asian family, if you do anything that isn't a massive stereotype, if you're not a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, my parents, I think, still think at some point I'm going to get a real job.
I mean, to be honest, it's there. You know, it was there for me. But you know, I was lucky. I was encouraged. You know, and I think we all were. You know, we were all lucky. We were encouraged by good people, and you know, so as I said, there was no job, so it wasn't like we were leaving something with a good grounding. You know, we were like, there was nothing else. Well, you
were making your own work.
We were, and we were kind of making our own world as well. You know, and creating that.
At what point did the name Wet 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 come into it?
Oh, we were sitting looking at the rain lashing off the window, man, in the west.
Well, it was Glasgow.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot's made of that, you know. But you know, we couldn't. It's the old thing. We couldn't kind of think of a name, you know. Made all these terrible names. Not that Wet's kind of any better, but it just seemed. I don't know. It was going to be funny. Your mother saying, "Oh, wet, wet. You spend too much time with wet, wet." Well, it was going to be wet, you know,
right?
And
because it was from. Now I'm going to show my super fandom here. If my memory serves me correctly, it was from Scritti Politti lyrics.
There you go.
Have I passed the test?
You did indeed. Yes, and there's a line in it that says his face was wet, wet with tears, and so you know. I kind of liked it because, you know, back in those days it was kind of quirky, you know, and to sort of have something quirky that stood out a wee bit, you know, was kind of important, you know, was kind of you know, it never conjured up any sort of musical kind of nuance either,
or preconceptions,
you know. It was nothing, you know. It was like, so people were always a bit, what's the name of that band, you know, and so it kind of stuck, and it was one of those that we thought, we'll use that until we think of a better one, you know, and of course you never get round to thinking of a better one, you know, so it kind of just stuck
and
there,
it stuck,
you know?
and what, sort of 30 years later,
here we go, man, and
still touring, still playing. Before we get to play your track, are you out planning to be out with the boys again on the road?
Well, hope so, you know, hopefully, yeah. It's just, as I said to you, it's so difficult to get the four of us in the one room at the same time, you know, as you said, everyone's doing their own thing, but I would be disappointed if we weren't going to go out again, so it's in the back burner, it's parked at the moment, but
it'll happen.
It will definitely happen. Yeah, watch your space.
Well, I was fortunate enough to see you last year, and as I say, you're still selling out those big old arenas.
Great, it's great. We're so blessed, we're so blessed.
More power to you. We're going to play this is a brand new track, isn't it?
It's done in my own studio, my wee demo. I played everything myself, and so this doesn't really happen that often, that you get to play a demo, but
fresh.
It's fresh, man. It's right off the press.
Very, very off the press. And I know you go and you take your own stuff out on the road. Are you planning to do that again?
Yes, I am. Yeah. Towards the end of the year, I'll be out there with my acoustic guitar, and come in, say hello on @GraemeClark1 on Twitter. I've got a Facebook page, Graeme Clark Official, and I've also got GraemeClark.co.uk. So Peter, come in and say hello, and you will be able to speak to me there. It's not like I'm a big superstar that goes and hibernates. I'm quite accessible. And if he emails me, I'll respond.
There you go, Peter. Man. If you're listening, there you go. And you're good at Twitter. I've got to tell everybody this, that you are good at Twitter. Are you enjoying it?
I love it, man. It's I can only cram in 140 characters of nonsense, but that's probably my limit. But there's good Twitterers out there, and I'm not quite up to that standard, but I do enjoy it. It's quite random, and of course we met there through Sonny and Shay.
That's right.
So it's great. And I like that kind of immediate kind of reaction that I can get with people, and people that like the band, and it wasn't like that. And when we first started out, there was this big buffer in between it, and now it's it's quite
which is
localised,
why going back to what we were saying, I wonder if it's why young people today feel something like Zayn so much more, because they may have had a tweet from him, or they're more accessible in some ways.
Exactly.
Aren't they?
Yes. So I do like it. I do like the medium, and I do think that if it was around in the early days, I'm pretty sure John Lennon would be a pretty prominent and a good Twitterer,
I think he would.
He'd be excellent, So I think it's like one of these things where, would it have worked back then? Yeah, it would have. It's a good idea, and it puts you in touch with people, It's great. It's communication.
It is. Well, go and find him. It's Graeme Clark 1. If you find my timeline, Yasmin Khan 1. All the best people have got ones at the end.
True.
You'll see us, and I'll retweet him. But for now, let me say thank you so much. Will you come and join us again and do this again?
Definitely. As long as Peter phones up and gives me a hard time, definitely.
You're in. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Yasmin. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
It's been wonderful. Here's your track. This is Graeme Clark and Painkiller.
Ain't no codeine gonna fix my brain. Ain't no prayer gonna heal my pain. I'm in a prison here in my soul. I need you to dig me out of the home. Oh, you're my painkiller. Oh, you're my painkiller. Forwards, now I'm going back. I've stopped counting the knives in my back. Feel so lovesick, I'm falling apart. Come back and ease the pain in my heart. What? Oh, you're my painkiller. You're my painkiller. And there's a hole in my soul, and there's a wound in my heart. Yeah. I got a head that's burning inside, needing my painkiller. You're my painkiller.
Khan, Saturday nights from 10
on BBC London 94.9.
I must say thank you so much to Graeme Clark for coming in and talking to us, running through a fantastic selection of stories, and of course you heard his track Painkiller there, so thank you, Graeme. If you are listening and you want to connect with him, he's on Twitter at GraemeClark1, and he has a website which is up there as well. So yeah, find him, follow him, go and say hello. He's a lovely, friendly chap, as you heard, and he has lots to say, and he loves interacting with people, so do go and find him. And how strange for me, all these years later, of being a fan in my younger years of Wet, 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 to have him in the studio. How fantastic is that? How lucky am I?